We humans, along with all other living organisms, form a complex web of ecological system in which we are only a part and very much dependent on this system of our own existence. There is a multiple network of interdependence. That is, all the organisms depend upon each other for their survival. Flora and fauna in India. India is one of the world's richest countries in terms of biological diversity. It has nearly 8% of the total number of species in the world, estimated to be 1.6 million. Due to destruction of forests for industrial, agricultural, and urban development, our natural flora and fauna is under threat. At least 10% of India's recorded wild flora and 20% of its mammals are on the threatened list. Many of these would now be categorized as critical, that is, they are on the verge of extinction, like the cheetah, the pink-headed duck, and plants like Madhuca insignis, a wild variety of mahua, and Habardia heptaneuron, a species of grass, etc. Based on International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, UICN, different plants and animals have been categorized as normal species. These are the species whose population levels are considered to be normal for their survival, such as cattle, sal, pine, rodents, etc. are examples of normal species. Endangered species. The species which are in danger of extinction: black buck, crocodile, Indian wild ass, Indian rhino, lion-tailed macaw, etc. are examples of endangered species. Vulnerable species. These are the species whose population has declined to levels from where it is likely to move into the endangered category in the near future if the negative factors continue to operate such species. Blue sheep, Asiatic elephant, Gangetic dolphin, etc. are examples of vulnerable species. Rare species. Species with small population may move into the endangered or vulnerable category if the negative factors affecting them continue to operate. The Himalayan brown bear, wild Asiatic buffalo, desert fox, and hornbill, etc. are examples of rare species. Endemic species. The species which are only found in some particular region, usually isolated by natural or geographic barriers. The examples of such species are the Andaman teal, Nicobar pigeon, Andaman wild pig, etc. Extinct species. These are species which are not found after searches of known or likely areas where they may occur. These species may be extinct from a local area, region, country, continent, or the whole earth. The examples of such species are the Asiatic cheetah, the pink-headed duck, etc. Depletion of flora and fauna. Main factors. Overutilization of forests. Forests are being used to fulfill man's needs directly and indirectly. We are obtaining wood, barks, leaves, rubber, medicine, dyes, food, fuel, fodder, etc. from forests. Colonial period. The greatest damage inflicted on Indian forests was during the colonial period due to the expansion of railways, agriculture, commercial and scientific forestry, and mining activities. Agricultural expansion. Between 1951 and 1980, according to the Forest Survey of India, over 26,200 square kilometers of forest areas were converted into agricultural lands all over India. Substantial parts of the tribal belts, especially in the northeastern and central India, have been deforested or degraded by shifting cultivation jhum, a type of slash-and-burn agriculture. Multipurpose river projects. Multipurpose river projects have also contributed significantly to the loss of forests. Since 1951, over 5,000 square kilometers of forests were cleared for river valley projects and is still continuing with projects like the Narmada Sagar project in Madhya Pradesh, which would inundate 40,000 hectares of forest. Mining. Mining operation needs big machines, labor, roads, railways, etc. The Buxa Tiger Reserve in West Bengal is seriously threatened due to mining operations. The mining operations have caused severe ecological damage to the reserve and region around. Grazing and fuel wood collection. In many parts of India, hillsides have become barren because of overgrazing by animals. According to some forests and environmentalists, deforestation has also been caused by wood collection. The destruction of forests and its impact on cultural diversity. There are many forest-dependent communities which directly depend on various components of the forest and wildlife for food, drink, medicines, etc. Many of tribal communities like Murya, Gonds, Dhurvas, Bhatras, etc. have lost their habitat because of destruction of forests. In many societies, women bear the major responsibility of collection of fuel, fodder, water, and other basic needs. Most of the time, they have to walk for more than 10 kilometers to collect basic necessities. This causes serious health problems for women and negligence of home and children because of the increased hours of work, which often has serious social implications. Deforestation is also responsible for poverty. It is considered direct outcome of environmental destruction. If the forests are destroyed, these people will be deprived of their basic necessities. Deforestation also leads to drought because forests help in rainfall. Deforestation can also induce floods because vegetation has the ability to check the speed of water. Both floods and drought are considered major factors responsible for poverty. Conservation of forests and wildlife in India. Steps taken by the government. National parks, biosphere, and wildlife sanctuaries. To protect the biodiversity, Indian government has established 100 national parks, 515 wildlife sanctuaries, and 17 biosphere reserves. The Indian Wildlife Protection Act. The Indian Wildlife Protection Act was implemented in the year 1972 with various provisions for protecting habitats. The thrust of the program was towards protecting the remaining population of certain endangered species by banning hunting, giving legal protection to their habitats, and restricting trade in wildlife. Projects for protecting specific animals. The central government has also announced several projects for protecting specific animals which were gravely threatened, including the tiger, the one-horned rhinoceros, the Kashmir stag, the 3 types of crocodiles, the Asiatic lion, and others. Forest policy. India is one of the few countries which has a forest policy since the year 1894. It was revised in the year 1952 and again in the year 1988. The main plank of the forest policy is protection, conservation, and development of forests. Its main objectives are maintenance of environmental stability through preservation and restoration of ecological balance, conservation of natural heritage, check on soil erosion and denudation in catchment area of rivers, lakes, and reservoirs, substantial increase in forest tree cover through massive afforestation and social forestry programs, focus on biodiversity. The conservation projects which have been launched by the government focus on biodiversity rather than on a few of its components. In the new projects, even insects, butterflies, moths, plants are being added to the list of protected species. Types and distribution of forest. For the purpose of administration, forests are classified into three types, namely reserved forests, protected forests, unclassed forests. Reserved forests. They are permanently earmarked either for production or other forest produce. More than 50% of the total forest land has been declared as reserved forests. They are controlled by the government. The forests of Jammu and Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Maharashtra fall in this category. Protected forests. They are protected from any further depletion. Almost 1/3 of the total forest area is protected forest. They are controlled by the government. The forests of Bihar, Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Odisha, and Rajasthan fall under this category. MP has the largest area under these forests. Unclassed forests. They consist of inaccessible forests or wastelands. These consist of only 16% of the total forest area. They are owned by government and private individuals. The forests of northeastern states and parts of Gujarat fall under this category. Community and conservation. The destruction of natural forests for timber, cropland, fuel wood, pasture, urbanization, etc. have shown a severe impact on many poor rural families who depend on forest resources. The decreasing forest cover has led to soil erosion, sedimentation of rivers, and increased flooding. Now it is being recognized that local communities must be involved to establish sustainable forest management systems. In Sariska Tiger Reserve, Rajasthan, villagers have fought against mining by citing the Wildlife Protection Act. In many areas, villagers themselves are protecting habitats and explicitly rejecting government involvement. The inhabitants of 5 villages in the Alwar district of Rajasthan have declared 1,200 hectares of forest as the Bhairodev Dakav Sonchuri. The community has declared their own set of rules and regulations which do not allow hunting and are protecting the wildlife against any outside encroachments. Many states have launched joint forest management program to involve local communities in the management and restoration of degraded forests. Odisha was the first state to launch this program. Under JFM, local people living on the periphery of the forests form organization known as Vana Samraksha Samiti (VSS) in order to protect the forests. The Forestry Department is made responsible to organize and provide the technical and administrative support to the Vana Samraksha Samiti or VSS. The major purpose of the VSS is to protect the forest from encroachment, grazing, theft, and fire, and also to improve the forest in accordance with an approved joint forest management plan. In return, the members of these committees are entitled to intermediary benefits like non-timber forest producers. So many farmers and citizens groups support the Bij Bachao Andolan in Tehri and Navdanya have developed or are using various crop production methods which do not use synthetic chemicals for growing crops. The famous Chipko movement launched by the women of Chamoli in northern India saved more than 12,000 square kilometer area of forests just by hugging the trees when the lumberjacks attempted to cut them.